I remind you, Hang with Hennig being brought to you by my friends over at Boxing Insider Promotions. The first action-packed fight card of 2026 is Saturday, March 7th. Boxing Insider Promotions is back at Tropicana Atlantic City. Margate's own Larry Goldberg bringing his 7th boxing event at the Tropicana showroom in Atlantic City. It is another stacked fight card. Of course, 16-0 Justin Figueroa from Atlantic City won the NABF belt last summer. You also have rising women's boxing star Leah Lewandowski in action, as well as Holy Spirit High School graduate and heavyweight undefeated boxer Josh Popper, all part of the great boxing card at Tropicana Showroom in Atlantic City. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Do not miss out. The great blend of local fighters and international competition is only with Boxing Insider Promotions. And Larry Goldberg himself is joining us right now, talking about the state of boxing right here on 97.3 ESPN. Larry, welcome in. Happy New Year. How's it going?
Thank you very much for having me on, Josh. I can just listen to you hype this up all day long, so I appreciate it.
Well, let's get into, first of all, before we get to the fights next month, in March. The state of boxing is a very interesting transition because I think people don't realize, Larry, that the boxing as we know it, for better and worse, is going to be changing moving forward, correct?
It's been changed. It's everything that we've accepted to be real life for the last 30 to 40 years drastically changed about a month ago, and then again a couple of days ago in Congress as they are passing new federal legislation to regulate boxing. That has been spearheaded by TKO, which is the parent company of the UFC, and they had their debut last night on Paramount of Zuffa Boxing, and that will change the entire landscape of boxing, whether we want it to or not. It's a done deal.
So what does that mean? Big picture, let's start with big picture. What does this congressional act mean for? Because, the average fan, when they flip on the television, they want to watch a boxing match, when they want to see the big names. What does it mean, big picture?
Well, big picture is this. The industry as itself has failed boxing. Right now, boxing is not on network television. 10 years ago, HBO gave up on it. Showtime gave up on it. Fox, ESPN, everybody gave up on it because the promoters collectively were short-sighted scumbags who only cared about taking as much money as they can in the short term and never built up the sport. They've been left with nothing. And it gave TKO, the parent company of the UFC, an opening. And look, elections have consequences. Everybody knows that Dana White helped get Trump elected, and this was what they wanted. They are passing a law right now called the Muhammad Ali Revision Act. Everyone should Google it. It will basically change boxing law in this country to allow them to operate boxing the way they operate the UFC, the way they operate the WWE. Up until now, boxing has been very decentralized. So I could have a fight, but I could buy on to other things, like other promoters kind of work together, and not in a positive way, but it was set up 30 or 40 years ago to combat Don King, and it's changing, and it's going to have the effects long term are going to be felt for many years.
All right, so let's clarify that. Larry Goldberg joining us by way of Margate's own Boxing Insider Promotions back at Tropicana showroom in Atlantic City, Saturday, March 7th. There are people out there who are listening who are like, well, I like the UFC. What's wrong with it being like the UFC? Explain to people why that matters.
I love the UFC. That's not the issue. The issue is fighter pay. The issue is collective bargaining. The issue is if you up until now, if you wanted to invest, if Josh Hennig and Larry wanted to go invest in the next heavyweight champion, and we thought we had somebody, and we wanted to spend money and bring him up the old way, once he got to a certain level, we could potentially make a lot of money. under this system, it'll be like the UFC. Nobody's making a lot of money, including the. I mean, they're making a lot of money, but the fighters don't have the collective bargaining. The top fighters in boxing have always made a lot more money just because of how it was structured. So now all of a sudden, you're going to basically be fighting. You're going to be fighting in the mid level like the UFC fighters. Nobody's getting rich in the UFC world other than the Conor McGregors and a handful of other guys, because it's not designed for that. It was designed to be, TKO is now a publicly traded company. They, have monopolies in wrestling, MMA, bull riding, and soon to be professional boxing.
So then what does that mean then? Like, for example, the way people, you just mentioned about the fact that, how what the UFC is doing right now. So then how would that necessarily impact a place like Atlantic City?
Atlantic City has been forgotten, and Atlantic City doesn't really sort of, factor into this conversation because, Atlantic City just doesn't have boxing anymore. It's been me. It's been, one or two other people who have kind of, ridden our coattails or come into the market randomly, but no one's really doing anything in Atlantic City, and I don't see that changing. The UFC's model is going to be, right now, they're going to be doing shows at the Apex like they did last night. It's basically a fight factory where they'll be able to put on fights at any time they want. They'll probably bring, TKO boxing to Newark. I say Newark specifically because the Prudential Center lobbied on behalf of the Muhammad Ali Boxing Act bill, which, again, just understand, is a bill meant to change the entire regulatory scope of boxing that no one in boxing has asked for and no one in boxing has really contributed to. This has basically been, TKO pushing it through their lobbying efforts.
So then basically it feels a lot like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Larry, okay? Larry Goldberg joining us here on 97.3 ESPN Boxing Insider Promotions. Return to Tropicana showroom in Atlantic City. Get your tickets now for Saturday, March 7th for the next action-packed fight card in Atlantic City. So you talk about lobbying. Well, let's say we get a different president, in 2028 who has got different alliances and different allegiances. Couldn't one say that maybe this will just change again in 4 to 5 years?
Nobody cares about boxing.
Okay.
Nobody cares about the fact that there's so many problems going on in this world right now, and that the congressional is the House of Representatives is spending time on boxing. I mean, this was a pet project for John McCain in the very early 90s, and it's a pet project for Dana White and Trump. No matter whatever they do now, we're going to be stuck with it. Nobody cares about boxing, and boxing is the only sport and the only industry in the entire world regulated by the government the way that it is. So it will never change because nobody cares, and this company has unlimited lobbying power.
So basically, you're saying this is more like it's only because of the people who are involved, like McCain in the 90s. When McCain
was a real boxing fan. Dana White, and look, I am not sitting here denigrating him. I think he's done an amazing job, and I don't have a problem with what they're doing. The boxing industry did this to themselves.
Right.
But this was, some people who help get politicians elected want to be, they want to do, they want to be, an ambassador or something. All he wanted was to change this boxing law, and what will basically happen is boxers will have less rights. But like if you're in their system, you're going to do well. But if you're not in their system, it's going to be like, being an MMA fighter and not fighting in the UFC. If the tree falls in the forest, no one's going to hear about it. They didn't need to change this law in order for TKO Boxing to launch on Paramount, have their first show yesterday, and take over the industry with their eyes closed. They didn't need to. This was just shooting fish in a barrel. But they are, in my opinion, a lot of the legacy promoters, the first one to go will probably be Oscar de la Hoya, are going to disappear. Right now, Bob Arum doesn't have a TV deal. PBC doesn't really have a TV deal. I mean, Ryan Garcia is going to have a big fight in February. Eddie Hearn's going to do his fights. The guy from Saudi Arabia is not putting up the money for the fights like they were a year ago, and what he is putting up is going into the UFC pot. So boxing will be like the UFC. There will not be stars. It will be, a ranking versus a country versus that for betting purposes. It's not going to be like the old days of, like they said, in the old days when the UFC used to come to Atlantic City, we all used to get excited that Tito Ortiz was coming to town, or Chuck Liddell, or one of those guys. Now they're going to be selling it. Okay, it's just boxing. It's just Zuffa boxing. And one thing I've learned the hard way is people aren't just going to come for that. They're going to come because you have to give them something. But if they're creating content in their own office that can be shown internationally, and they can just do a factory of fights like they did last night, which the fights were fine. I have no problem with it. The problem that we have as an industry collectively is going to be there's going to be very little competition. Bob Arams, the Top Ranks, the PBCs, they are all going to go away. And they're not going to go away tomorrow. They're not going to go away next week. Nobody's stopping another company from coming in and doing MMA. But come on, PFL came to Atlantic City, and some of the people, made a big deal about it. PFL is not going anywhere. I mean, it was fun for a night, but who are we kidding? It wasn't the UFC. The only reason it was there was because we couldn't get the UFC.
Well, what we can get is thanks to you, Larry Goldberg. Boxing Insider Promotions is coming up Saturday, March 7th, Tropicana Showroom in Atlantic City. I know you're still working on crossing the T's, dotting the I's for that event, but I can promise folks one thing. If you still enjoy great boxing and you don't want it adulterated, you can still enjoy it Saturday, March 7th, Tropicana Showroom in Atlantic City. Thanks to Larry Goldberg of Boxing Insider Promotions. Larry, I appreciate you jumping on and giving some clarity to the situation.
No, I appreciate it. Like I said, real quick on the show on March 7th, we've got, right now we've got eight fights made. I've, Justin Figueroa will be fighting on the card. He is not matched yet, so we'll just pretend that this is just the two of us talking because I have not made an announcement about Justin yet. John Leonardo from New Jersey is fighting. Edgar Joe Cortez. John headlined our first show at the Tropicana 2 Mays ago. Leah Lewandowski's in a great fight. Josh Popper, we're working. We've got this guy. His name is Jim Torney. It's going to be the first fight of the evening. He's 6'9" heavyweight Irish kid. So, we're going to have an attraction. We have another kid who's named Rizwan from New York. He just won the Golden Gloves last year, and he had a big knockout at the Barclays Center. And, we're very high on him. So we're going to have a mix, once again, of local and New York fighters. And like you said, also Josh Popper. And like I said, there's a few other local kids that we're in the process of negotiating with, but I don't have anything signed yet. So I have to be careful what I say.
Well, listen, you let me say, and I'll protect you, okay?
Oh, Josh, you've been amazing. And like I said, our friend Angie has called you the hardest working man in local media. And I'd like to say thank you for, all the help you've been for us at Boxing Insider for the last 2 years. You've been just an amazing partner, and I appreciate you having me on and, talking about the fights and everything.
Well, I appreciate your support as well because if it wasn't for local guys like you hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN, doesn't exist. So, Larry, the appreciation goes both ways, okay?
Well, I appreciate hanging with Hennig, and it was fun. I think I was one of your first sponsors when they gave you this show, and I hope to stick around for the entire duration.
Well, that's the plan, okay? You're here until you're done with me, okay?
I'm never going to be done with you. You guys are. Look, I hate to break it to Atlantic City. You guys are stuck with us, both of us.
There you go.
I'm not going anywhere.
All right.
And we're going to continue doing these fights. We're going to continue doing them with Josh Hennig, hanging with Hennig here on 97.3. He's the best station in the area with the best host in the area. And it's just been a fun ride.
Larry, appreciate you, man. Talk soon.
I'll talk to you soon. Thank you, guys.
Josh Hennig, hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN, as Larry mentioned. I think I almost owe Larry now, Alex, for that those extra plugs there.
Yeah, he was hyping you up crazy, right? That was a Paul Heyman